Hey guys, today I've got a review of what should be a pretty cool product. It is from Vololights, and it's a supplemental brake light system that fits in a license plate frame, and it goes on the back of your bike, and it works in conjunction with your brake lights to not only give you lights when you're braking, but also when you're downshifting or engine braking as a supplemental flashing light system. So let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, let's take a look inside the box. What we have is the unit itself. It's like 2 rows of red LEDs and a row of white to illuminate your license plate, so you don't have to worry about legal ramifications, I would assume. That's just a paper facade. Now, one note, when I talked to the guys, Vololight contacted me and they said, hey, we love your reviews. Would you like to review our product? I took a look at it and said, sure, on one condition: I don't want to permanently modify my bike, specifically the wiring. So they do offer these type of connections optional, just for a couple extra bucks. The standard connection is a splice connection, so you do have to hack into your wiring a little bit, but for a couple bucks you can get these. And they said these will tie into existing wiring. Okay, I see what they are. They're just normal little puncture connectors. So you put your stock wire through here, you screw it together, and just like the automotive options, this will pierce the wire to pull the power. It should be just a dummy positive negative power connection. There's no signal or anything like that. It just needs some 12-volt switched power. Let's take a look at what else is in here. We have a piece of metal. Not sure what that is yet. That's just cardboard, and we've got some cartoon instructions. It looks like that's it. So let's see what these say. Installation instructions. It says check out the website. I'll have to do that. Step 1, loosen the 4 black screws on the back to remove the front cover. Those are little screws, okay. And it says the plate slides in left to right. Replace the cover and screws. Yep, plug in your 12-volt power. Do not power from the brake light. Yeah, that would be very important since it would lose power every time you let off the brakes. Okay. And then it shows their standard little splice connector doodads there. And then it goes through some setup instructions. Okay, so I guess the first step is to get it on the bike. What's on the back here? Okay, so the back shows calibration and switching modes. Okay, so this piece of metal appears to be a magnet. Okay, and that's what they're using to switch between their modes and sensitivity settings here. So instead of having a physical switch, it looks like it uses a magnet and a sensor. Okay, cool. So we'll go through all that once it's on the bike. Let's go ahead and get it installed. So the first thing I want to do here is just a dry fit. I want to make sure that this is going to physically fit on the bike. The only thing I'm concerned about is this little nub I've got down here, because it sticks out a good ½ inch beyond the plate, but the plate's bent in just a little bit, and I think it's pretty much on plane with the mounting up here. But my bike only has 2 top mounting holes, so I don't know if this is designed to work with 4 or if it's not going to be any problem whatsoever. But before I go hacking into any kind of wiring, I want to just replace it up there on the bike and see how it fits. Now, the first thing I'm noticing is that I bet, given the placements of the holes on the back of here, that my reflective screws are not going to fit. I bet this is designed for regular screws only. So let's get this paper out of here and take a look. So I've got the 4 back screws off. Top plate comes off. And take the paper out here. That's all there is to it. Yeah. Alright, hang on. Gotta go to the store, get some standard license plate bolts. Be right back. Success! New bolts. Now I did have the option of going nylon or metal. I chose to go metal because if I was just a plate hanging on there, I wouldn't have any problem using nylon. But you know what? This has some heft to it, so I went with metal, especially since I'm only using 2 bolts to hang it on the bike. So now we can put our plate in. Set the screw down here. All right, now it says it goes in from the left to the right, and what I'm seeing is a molded in ridge right here, and there are slots underneath the upper and lower lights. And wow, that ribbon cable is really sticking up there, isn't it? Is it supposed to sit underneath something, or I guess not, just hangs there. All right, so from left to right, because there's no nub here on the left, I guess you have to squish this ribbon cable down carefully. These things are really fragile, so that is a tight fit. One suggestion I would make right away is that they shorten that ribbon cable just a little bit. If this plate is supposed to easily slide, especially coming back out, that's gotta, because this plate dips down on the edges here. Yeah, see, it's getting caught on the edge of that ribbon cable. So I would imagine you'd have to take at least one of these off to get your plate back out. I would suggest shortening that a little bit, and then you wouldn't have any kind of issue. So here it stops on the right, holes are lined up, good. Let's go ahead and put the cover back on, see how that looks. Let's just hold it up on the bike here, get that aligned. Make sure we're flat. Oh yeah, that's perfect. That is solid. All I was really concerned about is if it would be rattling around, you know, if there was clearance, or if I'm going to be making a noise like that on that nub. But the nub is sticking out just far enough where it puts a little bit of pressure on it and cinched down at the top. That's solid as a rock. Okay, cool. So fears alleviated. Now I just need to put the 4 screws back in. Whoa. And we'll get it set up. I got to read the instructions again, make sure there's nothing special I need to do. Hang on. Okay, so the next step after putting your plate in is to actually connect the power. And it looks like it wants you to do all this before you actually mount it to the bike, because you got to swing the plate around in the air. So let's see where I can power this from. Now this is a Yamaha 2014 FJR1300. The back end wiring for all the FJRs, as far as I know, have never changed. So what I've got right under here is a license plate illumination light. That would be a great source, and looks like there's one set of wires right in there. Tail lights would also be a good source. You just don't want to obviously go into the turn signals or the brake light circuit. And I'm thinking this is probably going to be the best. Got 2 wires that should be separate from the wiring harness. Let's take a look at that. Inside here, I really can't see where that wire is coming out. I've got my wiring harness and the big clip right down there. It's probably going into that bundle. Everything is super rubber wrapped, of course. So I'm probably going to, those are all tail lights and brake lights, I'm probably going to take that off from the back here. I'll take this housing off and get some slack and tie into the wires somewhere right around here. Now I don't want to see wires coming up to this, so what I'll do is I'll just drill, this is just plastic, I'll drill a small hole through this fender and feed the wires back and just tie them up somewhere along the back side, I would imagine. Now these 2 are 8mm bolts, and there's a little lock nut and washer on the back. You just need to hold it, don't lose the washer. And these come right out. Now we should be able to get a little bit of slack here to our license plate illumination light. There's the bolt. I'm going to drop the washer. There it goes. Here's the nut. Put them all together so you don't lose them. Set those aside. Let's take a look at our light here. Looks like it's really held on by the wiring. There is not much leeway here. I'm going to go ahead and take out these 2 screws. Okay, so now we've got the housing separated, and there are our lights. Now on the FJR, the blue is positive, the black is ground, going to this switch 12 volt. This is just an LED license plate thing. You don't need to worry about popping a fuse or any kind of power draw or using a fuse box or anything like that. It's absolutely nothing to the power system. So now we just need to see where there's going to be enough room to pull in these connectors, because they do have a little bit of size to them, so I need to think about that for a second. Okay, I have a plan. Here's what I'm going to do. On the bike itself, it has 2 access holes for passing this wiring harness through. It's only used on one side, so this one's open. It's got a little bit of depth back here. You can get a little bit of something passed through. It's just big enough to pass through those quick connects, so that'll work for that. That'll allow me to get the wires from the back side. I'm just going to drill one small hole right here, which will be behind the license plate, so even if I don't choose to keep using the Vololights, that hole will always be covered by the stock plate, so that's fine with me. And what I'm going to do is drill a hole through this little awning, because they already have one for the wiring harness coming through, but not on the other side to match this hole. So I'm just going to drill another matching hole here. Again, won't ever be seen. It's covered by this when it's assembled. And that way it'll let me keep everything completely stock looking no matter what I choose to do. So then I'll pull the Vololight wires through here, put the quick connectors on, and tie in right here, and they will tuck up right in back of this in this little tray slot area here. And that should be completely neat and tidy. So now I just need to drill a hole through here and a hole through here, and we'll get assembly. Okay, so what I've done is drilled 2 holes. I got one down here. This is going to pass the wires from the Vololights back to the underside. Now when you drill your hole here, if this is how you're going to do it off to the side, because right down the middle on the other side is a rib. So you don't want to be drilling through that. That's to make sure that this whole piece is nice and stiff. So just go offset a little bit, and you can kind of see on the front here where it is. Just look on the back to see what I'm talking about. And then I drilled a hole through the inside corner of this little awning to match the other one on the other side. This is where the Vololight wires are going to come in from the back side, and we're going to tie them right into these wires here. Now I just opened up the rubber sheath a little bit, about 1/4 of an inch, just to give me a little bit of extra room. When this is tucked back up into place, you can see that there's a slot here on the back, so there's room for these quick connectors to just go straight across and out that corner hole. So these work simply by unscrewing the gray part, and you just want to make sure that it's positioned to the direction you want it to go. So I want it to be going to the right. That looks pretty good right about there. You just put the wire into the slot, into the gray piece, and it just sits there. When you screw this part down, it pierces right through the center of your original wire to make the connection. Like I said, a lot like the automotive ones, but typically those are like a clamp type. Those I find aren't very accurate. This at least is keeping it nice and centered. I'm just gonna screw this on, make sure it's not cross-threaded. Screw it down real nice and tight. It's going to pierce that original wire, and that's all you need to do. So now this end unscrews again, and it's a similar type, except this is for a raw wire. This doesn't have the slots. Has a similar type connector on the inside, but this is for the end of the Vololights or any other type of wire where you've just stripped it back a little bit. And this just sits in here like that, and then when you screw these together, it simply squishes it against the pin and makes your connection. And since this is going to be tucked up inside here, just a quick little wrap with electrical tape. Number one, you're not going to see it, and number two, that's going to be just fine for water tightness. And then what I'll also do is, once I get this in place and figure out exactly how long of a wiring run I need, I will trim these. They're probably going to end up half the length or so, so I'm not having wire flopping around. And I'll just wrap these real loosely with electrical tape, just as a grommet function going through the holes, not for any kind of water tightness. Doesn't need that. And that should do it. So I'm going to go ahead and make my connections here, and then we'll do the electronic setup. Okay, the next step is to turn the bike to the on position, and these lights just started blinking. And reading the instructions, it says, tilt Vololights from vertical position until you see both types of urgency indications alternating flash. So okay, I'm seeing one kind of blinking. It's supposed to go back and forth, or oh, okay. So it looks like it's just kind of calibrating its tilt sensor or something. There we go. Okay. So that's that. Now we can turn the bike back off. And the next step, it says, is to tidy up the installation and mount it. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so far so good. Got everything back in place. I ran from the connectors, it's up, just tucked up inside, over to that side, through the hole. You can see the wires going through right there. They're not going anywhere, so I didn't need to put any kind of grommet material or anything there. They're absolutely solid. And then coming around the back, I've got them wrapped in, there you go, focus, some electrical tape for grommet going through this side. And then I'm going to mount the plate, and what I'll do is just zip tie the little bit of excess right here to this bracket hole, and that'll be that. Okay, so there we go. Everything is snugged up, tidied up, watertight. That looks really damn good. I mean, it looks OEM, especially when I stand back and just look at the bike. It really does look like it was made for the bike. If it didn't say Vololights here, you'd never know. Let's turn the bike on. It should go through its little startup sequence there. Now the next step is calibration, and I'm going to need to go get my wife. They specifically say that 2 people are needed for this step, and they specifically say you can't use the center stand because it's going to affect the tilt of the bike. So stand by, and I'm going to go grab an extra pair of hands. Okay, next step is calibration, and specifically, like I said, says use a second person, and it must be on a flat level surface. So I'm in my garage. If you use your driveway, make sure it's actually level. You know, most smartphones have a level app. Go ahead and use that, but it does need to be a flat level surface. That's not something you can get around. So you might have to go to a buddy's house if they have a garage. Any kind of garage floor, it's going to be foundation. That's going to be poured just about perfectly level. Might have a tiny bit of slope, but that's what you need. Okay, now all we have to do, it says turn the motorcycle power to on. Can you turn my key on, please? Wait for it to go through the boot up sequence, approximately 5 seconds. Does 2 different flashes, okay. And now it says lean the motorcycle off kickstand to upright position. So if you could please stand it up right there, that's good. Okay, now it says keep motorcycle upright and still until the completion, about 15 seconds. Only the bottom row of lights will flash. It says to hold the magnet on the left corner of the bottom until we get 1 flash. There we go. Okay, hold it steady there. Now we see the bottom starting to go through its flash sequence. Hold it steady, please. You're leaning. Don't move it. A few more seconds. Didn't seem to do anything. Let me try it one more time. Hold it bottom left. 1 flash. Don't move it. It's going through the sequence. It says 15 seconds, but that was only like 2. So let's wait again. Maybe they changed the firmware and didn't update the instructions. It's always possible. Or maybe it's just not doing it right, or I'm not doing it right. Another 5 seconds or so. Alright, so nothing happens after 15 seconds. It happens after like 2. Okay, you can go ahead and set it back down. It says that it's now calibrated, assuming that actually worked. You can see the instructions here. It says, keep it upright and still until the completion of the flash sequence, approximately 15 seconds. But, as you saw, it only took about 2. So, I'm going to assume that it's working right. Let's go ahead and test it. Just a little warning tip, this is quite a powerful little magnet. Don't get it anywhere near your smartphone. Don't get it anywhere near a watch. Don't get it anywhere near your wheel sensors on your bike if you've got ABS sensors. This is a full can of dog food. No problem. Okay, I'm back from the test ride. I've looked at the footage on the computer. Absolutely impressed. Love the product. It's definitely staying on the bike. For me personally, I'm leaving it in the most sensitive mode, the touring mode. I like that it came on when it did, and I really like, I didn't think I would, but I really like the default blinky mode. I thought maybe it would look a little funny to me because I'm not really a big fan of that kind of stuff, but it really does work on here. I'd hate to see how fast you have to decelerate to get it to go into kind of that panic mode. I would imagine that would be under very hard braking. And frankly, I don't want to do that in front of my wife driving. Don't tell her though. So, very cool product. Definitely recommend it. Looks like it would fit on just about any bike out there. You can see how easy it is on the FJR, and it looks stock. Very clean. It's easy to hide the wires. It's really a no-brainer install. If I had a video like this, like I said, it'd be 15 minutes, if that. So, no big deal. That's it. Thanks for watching, guys. Give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you next time.